Greystone?
No, we've moved. Yeah, we bought the house.
My parents have a house on that street.
Yeah, I met them a couple times.
Yeah.
Or they bought Bob Norris's old house.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they put a big one down.
Have they moved into that yet, or are they still just kind of?
They're renovating it.
Yeah.
So, okay. You excited about football starting again?
Yeah, sure. It's that time of year, so every year this time of year I find myself sleeping a little less. I kind of wake up with some nervous jitters a little bit at night, over nothing basically. But you just kind of get to this part, this time of the year, and I think it's just natural. You get conditioned that way after doing it for 20 years.
Yeah. So when you got here, what were the parts of the offensive line that needed the most improvement?
Well, I felt like last year one thing that we just needed to get a better kind of overall understanding of defenses. And I think when I like to teach more, you obviously got to know, hey, it's inside zone. I got a free technique. I doubled a free technique, whatever it might be. I mean, you have to know those things. But if you don't know why, like we're going to double, or why I got to make this call, why I got to make that call, and you're just sitting there operating on a need-to-know basis. Like the center tells me to do this. This is what I do.
Yeah.
And really, I don't want the offensive line to operate that way. I want those guys to get in, because all the defense ties together, right? So seeing safety alignments, linebacker alignments, understanding different fronts, when, where, and why defenses can blitz certain fronts, what are their answers for how they're going to try to stop certain run plays. And so I think from a conceptual standpoint, just taking a bigger overall picture of the defense was something we needed to improve. I think we're getting that now in year two. I just feel better about the guys understanding when, why, and where defenses can blitz, where from, how they're going to attack the offense. And then I just, you can always get better at technique.
Yeah.
You can always, and really an offensive line, that's what makes hay. I mean, when you want to, when you get down, if you want to be a great player, it's about playing with great technique. So most blocks in the offensive line are won and lost the first two steps. So you take a bad first step, bad second step, I mean, it's pretty much over. Yeah. So just getting really consistent and doing all the little things right is someplace we wanted to make big improvements in. And then, the third thing I really want this year, I want our guys to focus more on, so once they have a good understanding, once their technique is to a certain standpoint, then that allows you to start focusing more on just dominating the man in front of you, playing with an edge, playing nasty, finishing, leg drive, driving your feet. And we need to take a step forward in that this year.
Yeah. Marcus Keys.
Yeah.
A lot of our guys that write on our website love him, think he's got a big future.
Mm-hmm.
Where does he need to improve the most?
Well, I think for Marcus, it's just those little things that we're talking about with technique. Steps, hand placement, eye placement, just putting himself in position to be successful more.
Yeah.
Because he is tough and he plays with great effort. And he's got great mental toughness and physical toughness. But just a little bit better understanding of how the defensive lineman is going to kind of react to certain movements, certain blocks, certain schemes, and then getting himself in position to be successful in those schemes. I think if he does that, he can really take a step to the next level.
One of the things that Coach Gundy talked about at Media Day, Big 12 Media Days was teaching, like how the way that coaches teach and not necessarily just coach. Do you feel like you teach differently to different guys?
No, I don't teach differently. I may coach guys differently. I kind of tell my guys, you'll teach me how to coach you. Some of the best players I've ever coached, I didn't hardly ever have to raise my voice at all because they had an unbelievable competitive spirit and they had an unbelievable work ethic. It was really just more about teaching. We're not all made that way. Some guys don't come with that. They come with a decent competitive spirit, decent work ethic. And it's my job to, when we're not turned on, when our effort's not right, our intensity's not right, it's my job to crank up the intensity. But I think beyond that, I think the biggest thing in offensive line play, if you want to be a great lineman, it is technique and it is how you do the little things. It's not really who to block. I mean, most guys figure out who to block. I mean, if you don't, you ain't gonna be on the field. It's really how do I block that guy.
So piggybacking on talking about Gundy at Big 12 Media Days, he said that offensive line was going to be better than last year. This year, is that true? What do you think about just overall unit this year?
Well, I think every year you're trying to get better than you were the year before. So I do think we're going to have more depth this year in some places. You know, I feel like right now there's 8 guys that have the ability to help us win in some form, shape, or fashion. You know, I thought that it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, kind of silver lining with Larry and Marcus being out in the springtime at the guard position, because Shane and Deontay got a lot of reps, and they really did a good job. So those are going to be some interesting battles, you know, and I'm not sure you won't see all 4 of those guys in you know, playing games, you know, which will help us, because, you know, if a starter, say, plays 70-80% of the reps and the other guy takes 20-30% of the reps, and, you know, but you're talking about over 1,000 game season or 1,000 play season.
That's a lot of snaps.
That's, you know, there's a lot of snaps. You can take 200 or 300 reps off of a guy's body. You know, it can help him be more effective. Those 700 or 800 snaps is in there. So, but they'll set that tone. You know, I mean, heck, it might be 50-50. I don't know, but there's going to be some good competition this year.
It seems like everybody gets super excited about when a new offensive line or a new high school commits and all this stuff.
Sure.
But it never feels like that comes to fruition until 2 years down the road when guys are starting to play. How much of your mindset is thinking, man, this guy can come in and play right away? And how much is like, this will be later on?
Well, I'll tell you this: 18 years coaching full time, I've seen 3 guys play as freshmen in the offensive line. And so, Matt Hoke at Missouri, and he probably played as a true freshman based on, I'm not sure if his was injury or not, as a year before I got there. Evan Boehm at Missouri was a 4th-round draft pick, but he played as a true freshman basically because we had a lot of injuries, or he probably wouldn't have. Who's the third one I'm thinking about? Somebody, I think Joseph Barksdale at LSU, and it was basically because we had some injuries. So, I mean, one of those guys was maybe played because he was good enough. The other 2, I mean, but you know, you're talking 18 years, 3 guys. So those guys, it just doesn't happen very often. You know, the thing about a skill player is, a skill player, you don't have to physically run into someone every snap, and the change between high school and college is still pretty drastic. It's still kind of like a high school freshman playing with high school seniors from a certain standpoint. And it's strength, it's a consistency of technique, and you know, you got to run into somebody big every snap when you're a lineman. You got to hit somebody every snap. You know, when you're maybe out on the edge or out in space, you don't have to do that. So, to me, that's the reason why, is just because there's a lot more physical contact, and you're coming in contact with guys that are 3 or 4 years older than you, and 3 or 4 years more experienced, and 3 or 4 more years of repetition at doing those techniques. It's not that you're not going to be that guy. You're not going to be a great player. It's just, it takes a little time to work your way into it in the offensive, defensive line, in my opinion.
Yeah. What are some of the characteristics you look for when you're recruiting these high school kids?
Well, you know, the first thing is frame. You know, some guys already have all the weight on them. They're 310 pounds, and everybody wants them. You know, they're 4 stars and 5 stars, so they look a certain way. Some guys are the same height, but they maybe weigh 260, 270, but you look at their frame, and they're going to be that guy in a couple of years. But really, I'm looking at frame. Can they hold the weight? If they don't have the weight, can they hold it? If they do have the weight, what kind of weight is it? Are they going to have to take weight off and put better weight back on? It's very hard to do sometimes. I've had a lot more success with guys that came in at 260, 270 and went to 310, rather than guys being 330 and trying to get their body back down to 310 so they can move their feet the way they need to. But it's frame, it's athletic movement, it's foot speed, foot quickness, running ability, those things. I like guys that can run. And then it's hip leverage, ability for a guy to roll his hips and bend in the lower body. flexibility, ability to take his lower body power and apply it to another man. And then from that, to me, it's just about what is their compete factor, you know. How much do they strain? How hard do they play? How much do they finish, you know. You get a guy that does all those things, that's got all that, I mean, the rest of it's why they call you coach. So.
You've had a lot of success in recruiting. What's the most important trait you have to have as a recruiter?
I think the most important trait you have as a recruiter is work ethic. It's not a secret. I mean, if you reach out to guys consistently, they're going to know that you're interested. And half of it's just being consistent with you reaching out. And I think the rest of it, if you said the second most important trait, is just being genuine, just being who you are, having fun with guys, getting to know people. Recruiting's about relationships. You can't build a relationship if you don't spend time doing it, and you can't build a relationship if there's not a genuine interaction and trust there. So if you do those two things, I mean, we got a great place. I mean, there's going to be some good players that want to come here and be interested, but you got to work at it.
Who do you think is maybe the most improved offensive lineman of the group? I know it's like a pretty big group.
Through the springtime?
Yeah, just through spring.
I'd say Deontay Noel probably showed the most improvement from last year to this year. You know, Shane improved a lot, but I think Shane last year would have, if this redshirt rule had been in place, he probably would have played some last year. So he's gotten better, but if you're just looking at a jump of a guy coming from kind of out of nowhere to now, might figure in the play quite a bit, I'd say Deontay's the guy that's improved the most.
Do you have any plans to use the new redshirt rule with the offensive line, or is that something that's kind of play it as it lies type thing?
You know, I've thought about all these different ways to approach it.
Because you got a bunch of youngsters.
Yeah, my gut feeling is that early in the season, I don't know that those guys will be ready yet anyway. And so my gut feeling is that even if you get into a game where maybe you have the luxury of putting the second team O-line in for whatever reason, you want to go ahead and play your second team O-line, because if there is an injury in game 5 or 6, those are guys going to play.
Right.
I think for linemen, usually by game 8 or 9, once those guys have repped a little bit through the season, you get to where those guys are starting, okay, now I got it, coach. I understand what's going on. You know, sometimes when they first get out there, they're just paralyzed. I would see, and I would think that maybe later in the season, if you had a really talented freshman that didn't quite know what was going on yet, or didn't quite know how to put himself in position to be successful, you know, maybe games 8, 9, 10, you know, that you might have you get an injury or two, maybe that guy will be ready to come in and play, where he might not have been in game 2, 3, 4.
Right. Be interesting.
So it'll be interesting to see how it works out. And I don't know if that's right or not. I've heard some people say they're going to play all their guys early, and then see who they think can help them, and then they'll go ahead and play the kid if they want to and redshirt them. So probably the truth is figuring out what you need for that year. The answers are probably never the same every year.
Cool. Good.
Yeah.